We bring on Paul Allen. He's the guy in charge of Soar AI Studio, and you may know him as the founder of Ancestry.com. So he knows a thing or two, or about 20,000, about collecting, collating, organizing, condensing massive amounts of data. Paul, thanks for taking a minute from this yet another insanely dense data-filled project to give us a minute of your time.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me on. It's exciting to be alive today when computers and data can put everything at our fingertips and AI can understand human language and answer questions. It's an exciting and scary time.
So let's dive right into this particular facet of what Soar AI is up to. You are preparing and this incredible huge update to CitizenPortal.AI. So Citizen Portal, a major change to how individuals can access government data. So of course, Ancestry.com gave us access to a ton of family records and history, yours truly included. It's one of the reasons that our family was able to be registered in the actual Cherokee tribe due to the lost documents down from Kentucky. But for people to access government documents, that is the thing in today's day and age. And FOIA documents, Freedom of Information Act, it's a nightmare. So explain Citizen Portal to us a little bit.
Well, let me just go back 30 years ago. So 30 years ago,
please,
before Ancestry.com, genealogy was a passion of millions of people, but it was very expensive and very time consuming. People would have to travel and correspond. It took months or years to sometimes track down a single record. And so the era of the internet and digitization and search engines has now allowed Ancestry to have over 65 billion records. All the digitization and indexing has been done all over the world. So the average person can go and build a very robust family tree going back centuries in just a few minutes or a few hours of work. So that's the 30 years ago scenario for family history and how dramatically it's 1,000 times easier today than it was back then. Now, at the same time, almost every household in the United States subscribed to a newspaper in the 80s and 90s. And there were journalists like you going to all city and county and state meetings and reporting objectively, most times, on what was said and done by our elected officials. Well, Benjamin Franklin was a newspaper printer, and the founding era had a lot of newspapers. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president, there were 11 daily newspapers in Chicago alone. So we used to be an informed population with the Fourth Estate, the free press, providing the greatest check and balance on our elected officials. Well, with the demise of the newspaper industry over the past 30 years, it's almost impossible for citizens to figure out what's going on in your city, in your county, in your state, not only with meetings and votes, but also with spending data. So the big update you alluded to with CitizenPortal.AI is that in partnership with Open the Books, a 11-year-old nonprofit that is all about transparency and government spending, Citizen Portal has now transcribed over 2 million meetings, city, county, state, federal, zoning commission meetings, planning meetings, and now we're indexing all the attached documents. We're going to go back more and more into the past, but on an ongoing basis, Citizen Portal will publish about 6 or 7 million news articles this year that will be derived from the content of public meetings. So wherever you live in the United States, if your elected officials post the video of those public meetings to their government website or to YouTube or to Facebook or any other place, our team is indexing word for word who said what. You click through to see what they said and how they said it. So this is transparency for hundreds of millions of American citizens to find out what's going on in your elected officials' official work.
And one of the things that really frustrates a lot of people, myself included, is when you take to the search engines, there's a big story that's going on, or maybe you're in a conversation with someone, something pops up in the back of your mind. Hey, I remember a story about this. I remember something more to this, or you have a question, you go to the search engines. And a lot of search engines are peppered now with AI that are going to wildly skew you trying to find maybe an earlier news article. I know I was doing some research on an individual who had claimed to have 14 robberies. And so I took to the newspapers of Indianapolis of a certain time period to look for an individual arrested with a certain number of counts of robbery. And it was like trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. It was exhausting. The data was unhelpful. It was like, well, did you actually mean how many times Wendy's has been robbed? No, Google. I didn't mean how many times Wendy's has been robbed. So aside from AI giving me data on stolen baconators. How are you, at least with Citizen Portal AI, how are you maybe looking for this stuff an experience that doesn't make me want to take a pair of scissors to my wrists?
Well, the goal of Citizen Portal is to literally index every transcript of every meeting, to index every bill, every policy, every proposal. And when we get into the judicial system, every court ruling word for word. So think about LexisNexis, but think about a LexisNexis for American citizens who really know what your executive branch is doing, what your judicial branch is doing, and what your legislative bodies are doing. So official.
Can you explain what LexisNexis mean for some of our audience members who may not know?
Yeah, I guess decades ago, lawyers and news organizations would pay Need Data Central. They launched a search engine for lawyers called Lexis. And then they had a news engine of all the news being published all around the world was Nexis. And so many law school students all around the country still get access to LexisNexis. And it's the most definitive, accurate, thorough data set for lawyers in North America and the United States. So what Citizen Portal seeks to do is just like what Ancestry did, make it 1,000 times easier for you to become an informed citizen wherever you live. And we're doing a massive relaunch with more data, but then we're focusing on social networking features, mobile app features. The goal is to let people participate in participatory government. And in our elected representative form of government, we vote for people, and then they do things supposedly for the good of society on our behalf as our representatives at the local, state, and federal level. And most of us have completely abdicated our responsibility to be aware of and hold them accountable for what they do. So a search engine at Citizen Portal could allow you to say, what cities or states have debated nuclear energy in the past 12 months? And we have a heat map feature where you can go in, and if you're in the nuclear industry, if you're a builder or an investor, and you want to see, month by month, when are states and cities becoming friendlier towards nuclear energy so that they can power AI data centers, or any topic, election integrity, which deliberative bodies that represent different parts of the United States citizenry are focused on election integrity or voter ID. And so you can quickly scan across the US. One of my co-founders of SOAR did a search for prayers. It turns out that you can do a heat map of which cities and counties start their official government meetings with a word of prayer from a local pastor or priest or chaplain or rabbi. And then in the Northwest and in much of the eastern states, they don't start their meetings with prayer. But it's just interesting to be able to look across this vast country with 3,144 counties, 50 states, 18,000 or so towns and cities, and actually see what does it look like for representative government to be functioning, and where do we want it to go by becoming more active and aware as informed citizens.
So Taylor Coleridge's, I believe, 1798 poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, water, water everywhere, nor not a drop to drink. All of this data that we have everywhere. We have all of these newspapers, and they maybe have all been digitized. We have all of these records, these transcripts, and actually getting something that will give you what you're looking for in that data without, as I've often had to do, go to Bracken Library at Ball State University, crack open one of these ancient, old, worn, textbooks, something like that, in order to find particular data, to have something that can go through those particular files and provide me what I want without trying to skew the data, which is what a lot of these major search engine algorithms, and even a lot of the minor search engine algorithms, are trying to gauge what it is that you're really looking for underneath, or maybe something else. To see CitizenPortal.AI offering something different, and I don't mean to preface this as an insult, but if it works, then it is literally going to change the game, not just for my industry, but for the millions of Americans who are, for the first time maybe in their lives, or maybe the first time since the 80s and the 90s, getting involved in being active citizens of the Republic again. And yeah, of course, the cool stuff of the heat maps thing you're talking about, that just makes my job super easy. But to be able to look through some of these documents and data in an era where AI is being used to completely manipulate the conversation, this could be a game changer in the other way.
I look at it, Tony, as not if it works, but when it works for all locations, in all topics, in all parts of government. So it's just a matter of time. We've crowdfunded $1.3 million from almost 2,000 investors. We have more funding coming. Our team is building our capacity. This will become the Ancestry.com for representative government in our republic. And so I'm very confident that it will happen. Now, the acronym we're using to describe the feed, the news feed that every citizen in the United States should have access to, is BRAIN, BRAIN. B stands for brief. It's like a 1-minute article on every topic, every happening in the United States. So it's brief, it's relevant to you based on where you live and what topics you personally care about. So if you register for a free account, put in your zip code, you'll start getting a news feed that's based on your city and your county and even the school district that your family lives in. And then A is the most important part. I think as the newspaper industry has died and citizens have abdicated their responsibility to be informed and engaged, I think our muscles have atrophied. Our citizenship muscles that the Tocqueville saw as uniquely American, like we, under the founding documents, are the only nation, the first nation in history to be endowed, to reflect that we have been endowed by our creator with certain unalienable rights, and that we don't get our rights from government. We get it from our creator. That new thought has created the most prosperous nation in the history of the world. But we're going to lose it all if we don't exercise the muscles that those founders exercised and that all of our forebears have exercised before, to actually participate in the process of local government and then to elect people who actually have our best interest at heart, and we hold them accountable. We vote them out when they're spending trillions of dollars a year that we don't have. But we're not voting out people. They get reelected at what, 80, 90, 92% of incumbents get reelected, and yet our approval ratings are in the toilet. Gallup's approval, congressional approvals in the teens, and yet we always vote for our own. It's because of gerrymandering, and it's both state legislatures, Democrats and Republicans, do that gerrymandering. So most citizens' votes don't matter, but our voices still can. And becoming really informed about, okay, so I didn't finish the BRAIN acronym. A stands for actionable. For every topic that you see something local or state that you should do something about, sign a petition, call your legislator, show up at a meeting. We're scanning agendas now for every city and county and state in the country. So we won't just report what happened yesterday or last week. We'll tell you what topics are coming up on every agenda for the elected officials who represent you. And you can call them and you can show up and you can witness or testify or propose, support something or oppose something. And then finally, I stands for interesting. We don't want this to be boring. I think I'm a C-SPAN addict, but a lot of people find kind of that boring, but I find it super informative. And I like libraries, and not everybody has an attention span maybe to read a book anymore. So it needs to be brief and interesting. And then N stands for newsworthy. It needs to be breaking news. We're going to build a system that detects after a meeting is finished within minutes. We've uploaded the video, transcribed it, written 10 articles about the topics discussed, and tell you what actions you can take. So there's going to be a timeliness to the Citizen Portal AI BRAIN. And then the mobile app will come out sometime, hopefully later this year, so that in your palm of your hand, you can find out what's going on at every level of government on topics that you care about.
Well, that's Paul Allen, CitizenPortal.AI. Of course, we'll have that link in the description and in the Chiron. What we are looking at right now is a fundamental change to the way that we do data. And that's an incredible thing. Paul, thank you very much for your time. Really looking forward to it. And again, a small thank you as well for your work getting Ancestry.com started. Obviously, I know it changed a ton of the way that a lot of people do genealogy in this country. And that is not at all unrelated to the importance of data now and how we maintain and reinvigorate citizenship in this country.
You and everyone has a family heritage to treasure and learn from. as a country, we have a national heritage that we're about to lose if we don't pay attention to what's going on and elect people that will represent us and help us right the ship of state. So I do think they are related. And I'm grateful for the chance to participate on your show and to get the word out about CitizenPortal.AI.
Paul, thanks again.
Thanks, Tony.